Do you know that there are so many things that can never be said in the educational sector? EduChild Bella is an avenue to answer all of the burning questions and there are too many. For more information, you can call us on the number 0810-3094-265 or you can chat us up on WhatsApp on 090-8168-1884. You can also email us on educhildwithbella@gmail.com and also follow us on all our social media handle. EduChild with Bella. Learn, grow, and live. Amazing top of the day, everyone. Welcome to EduChild with Bella. My name is Mercy. Now, without a doubt, the coronavirus pandemic has affected all aspects of life, not just in Nigeria alone, but every part of the world. Now, the educational system has been devastated and children from poor families have been affected and they are bearing the brunt of it. Now, today on the show, we have an expert talking to us and how the coronavirus pandemic has affected us in the educational system and now we can learn from it. With me on the show today, I have Miss Kemi Ogunsanya. Welcome, Miss Kemi Ogunsanya.
Thank you very much.
Now, Miss Kemi Ogunsanya is a literacy educator who was taught for over 7 years in both the public and the private sector. So, Miss Kemi, welcome once again on the show.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's just jump right into it, Miss Kemi. Talk to us. How has the pandemic affected our educational system?
The pandemic has affected the education system in Nigeria in many ways. With the emergence of the pandemic came about new shifts in educational approaches, new orientations, new paradigms, new thinkings, and new ways of doing things generally. For me, I say that the pandemic brought about a disruption in the education system. I mean, school calendars were altered, examinations were rescheduled, and then there was just a general disruption of the education system when the pandemic came up. And one other impact of the pandemic for me is the fact that the pandemic gives us room for us to actually question how education is being done in Nigeria, for us to actually question if we're actually preparing children for the future we claim to prepare them for, if we're actually embedding core 21st century skills into the children and students we're grooming. We know that during the pandemic, or while the pandemic lasted, according to Wikipedia, we had more than 1 billion learners out of school. There were a number of learners that couldn't have access to any form of technology or any form of education during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So this was a major issue. This was a major impact for the pandemic. Another major impact of the pandemic is the fact that we had pre-existing disparities in the education system that were amplified by the reason of the pandemic. Nigeria already has a lot of educational divide. I mean, right now Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school learners in the world, and I feel that with the emergence of the pandemic, I feel that there would have even been more learners, like the numbers might have even shot up. So this was a major issue with the pandemic. The Nigerian education system is actually fragile in many ways, and there were just many cracks that we got to see during the pandemic. On the positive side, I'll say that one impact of the pandemic is the fact that there was a rise in homeschooling and the rise of different learning management systems. We had educators across the globe that were exploring different methods to ensure that education continued. We had teachers picking up new skills to ensure that they were giving their students effective education. So for me, I feel that's the impact of coronavirus on education.
So it's not just that it affected us in a negative way. There were also a positive side to the coronavirus pandemic. Thank you so much, Ms. Kemi. So now, do you think technology helped this time due to the fact that the poor masses couldn't have access to internet and most of the children from the poor background couldn't afford it? So do you think technology helped?
My answer to that question is yes. Technology played its own role. Technology played a very key role. However, there are existing conditions within the Nigerian climate that made it difficult for technology to have its real effect or to play a huge role as much as we would have wanted. In education, we have high-tech solutions, we have low-tech solutions that can be used in learning. In many places, high-tech solutions were being used that involved internet connectivity. For other areas, low-tech solutions were being used. Even at that, there were still learners that couldn't have access to education. According to UNESCO, they said that 75% of people or 75% of learners in Nigeria have access to radios and televisions. Now, the question we should ask is that even with the availability of radios and televisions, do we actually have the power supply for those televisions? Do we actually have people that can even buy batteries for radio sets to connect to learning systems? So technology played its own role, but Nigeria itself has a lot of infrastructure issues that needs to be put in place if blended learning or if online learning is going to continue effectively going into the future.
Okay, so how are teachers affected? I know that teachers are the major set of people affected by this pandemic. So how are teachers affected? You're in the educational sector. You should know more about this.
All right, so I'm going to use myself as a case study to answer this question. So how was I affected by the coronavirus pandemic? I'm going to say that, first of all, lots of teachers lost their streams of income. Lots of teachers had salary cuts. Lots of teachers were told not to work again. Lots of teachers lost their jobs, and so that is like a major factor. There were teachers struggling to survive while the pandemic lasted. So that's one thing. Another area teachers were affected is the fact that, okay, so this is a positive now. Teachers were affected because we all have to rise up to the challenge to start learning how to use new systems. Using myself as a case study, I'm going to say that, I mean, when the pandemic kicked off, although I was already familiar with a number of learning management systems, I had to take lots of online courses. I had to upgrade my knowledge so as to give my students the very best.
Okay. Okay, so it just boils down to being a 21st century teacher. It means that we can just adapt to a whole lot of things. And the coronavirus just helped teachers to understand the fact that they shouldn't be limited to one aspect, right? Okay, so what are the preventive measures are we taking now that school is in session, kids are back to school? What are the school system, what are the productive measures you're taking concerning the coronavirus?
Okay, so the federal government has given a policy for schools to use to prevent the spread of coronavirus, and I believe most schools are following on those guidelines. I mean, putting measures in place for children to wash their hands, for the environments to be sanitized, and putting posters and putting measures to raise awareness around the school for awareness of the pandemic.
Okay, now this is going to bring me to this next question. I know it's going to be very difficult getting kids to put on nose masks, having to run around them to get them to wash their hands and sanitize their hands. How has it been?
Okay. All right, so I teach very young children, and for me, the way I get them to consistently comply with all the coronavirus procedures is I try to make it fun for them. We sing songs while we're washing our hands.
Okay.
While we're doing, we created a song, about preventing the pandemic.
Okay.
So the children they're excited when they want to do anything, when they want to sanitize their hands, when they want to put on their masks. I just do it in a way that makes them excited.
Okay, so teachers just have to look for a way to get their kids to wash their, because I know it's going to be difficult having to, as an adult, it's actually quite difficult for me to put on the nose mask at all times. And I'm just thinking, how are the kids going to cope with it? Thank you so much, Ms. Kemi. So, one last advice. What do you advise us generally, educational workers? What should we do to improve ourselves? Now, the coronavirus has taught us that we shouldn't just be static as educators. We should be able to, have other means to reach across to our students. So one last advice for the people in the educational sector.
Okay, for me to give a last advice, I'm going to cut my advice across different aspects of the education sector, because in the education sector, we can't just say that teachers are the only key players. There are other important role players in the education sector. We have the parents, we have the teachers, we have school administrators, and most importantly, we have the government. For parents, I would say that during the pandemic, we had parents that had more time for their children. We had parents that were able to get involved with their children's academics and actually spend time with their children. So even now that work is in full bloom and parents are back to work, I feel that parents should still take out time with their children to monitor the academic activities. For teachers, I would say that the key is for us to keep upgrading ourselves, for us to keeping up with current trends and technology, for us to hold firmly to blended learning, because that's the way forward for the 21st century. And for the government, I would say that improved infrastructure is what we need in the education sector.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kemi. I have actually learned a lot just having you on set today. Thank you so much for running us through all of these things. Majority of us in the educational sector we didn't really know how to adapt to this whole COVID-19. Some people were thrown off balance, and some educators didn't know how to adjust with all of this, like those we have those teachers that are just used to one particular set or ways of teaching, and the coronavirus just came in and everyone was just thrown off balance. So thank you so much, Miss Kemi, for enlightening us on coronavirus and education. I don't know, but it's been an amazing time with Miss Kemi Ogunsanya on the show today, and she has explained a whole lot of things for us and how we can adapt in the educational system, both the parents, the teachers, and the government alike, and how we can adapt to the coronavirus pandemic and education. Till I come your way next week, I remain Mercy. Do you know that there are so many things that can never be said in the educational sector? EduChat with Bella is an avenue to answer all of the burning questions and there are many. For more information, you can call us on the number 0810-3094265, or you can chat us up on WhatsApp on 090-8168-1884. You can also email us on educhatwithbella@gmail.com, and also follow us on all our social media handle. EduChat with Bella. Learn, grow, and live.